In this video, I'm going to show you how to replace the intercooler on this Volkswagen Tiguan. It's going to be located behind the front bumper. Let's get into it. Before you start this job, you need to bring it to a local shop to have the refrigerant removed from the system so you can do the repairs. Pop this intake hose off, intake tube off. I'm just going to use a trim tool. Just get underneath here. Just pop that out. And then it's going to come out down below as well. You might have to use the trim tool on the sides of that. Pull that out. And we're going to take this screw out right here, and there's one on the other side. Use a T25 socket. Take that out. And take this bracket out of the way. In the fan shroud assembly on the upper side, we're going to take these two screws out, one on each side. I'm going to use a T30 socket. Take that out. And on the other side, underneath the radiator hose, take that one out. Take that one out. Using a 7mm socket, take these screws out. I just grab this trim piece on the side. You're just going to pop it out and try to pull it forward. Do the same on the other side. Pull that out. Using a T25 socket, take these screws out. There's one in the middle here. Should be 3 screws on the side. This vehicle only has 2. And do the same on the other side. Underneath here, just using a trim tool, you can just pop that back, and then this slides right off. I'm going to disconnect the electrical connector. I'm just going to use a pick. There's a little lock tab. You just want to push that up. You can push down on the tab. Just going to release it under here. And disconnect the connector. On the left side lower part of the fan above the intercooler tube, there's a bolt or a screw right there. Use a T30 socket. And that broke, that's okay. On the other side, there's some coolant tubes. You just move those out of the way and you can see the other screw. Same T30 socket. Take that one out. Take that out. Just grab the fan assembly. I'm just gonna twist it to the side a little bit. Just get it past. Just go back and forth. And it comes right out. Now we're going to drain the coolant. We're going to take this hose off here. I'm just going to use some hose clamps, pliers, and make sure you have a drain bucket underneath. There's no drain on the radiator, that's why we're taking off this hose. Just grab this, I'll just twist it back and forth a little bit. And just let that drain out. Now that's drained out pretty good, we're gonna pop this hose off. I'm just gonna use a straight blade screwdriver. There's a clip. You just wanna get the clip into the service mode. And just grab the hose. You can take the clip off completely if you need to. That's good. And just try to wiggle this off. There we go, pull that off. It's out of the way. And further down, there's a clip that's attaching the two hoses together. We'll just pop those apart. Just going to use a trim tool. Just unclip that. Separate that hose, and then take the retainer off the radiator. Just pop that out just with a trim tool right there. And that's disconnected. I'm going to remove the upper hose. I'm just going to use a pick. Just take this clip. And pull that down into the service position. And we'll just wiggle this back. Slide that off, out of the way. Oops, I'm just gonna twist this. That's good. On the left side of the radiator, there's 2 screws. We're gonna take those out. Use a T30 socket. And just pull those out. Grab the other one. And there's the other one. Take that one out as well. Now on the side here, on the right side, we use the T30 socket. We're going to have to go through, there's a little hole through the bracket. Take this bolt out, or this screw. And take that out by hand. And take this screw out. And just take this pipe off the rest of the way. Pull that down. And take this bolt out down below. Use a T30 socket. Take that out. Now we're going to grab the radiator. And we'll just slide it down. Just going to have to move it back and forth a little bit. Want to get it past the intercooler pipes. And it comes right out. We're going to remove this hose here. There's a locking clip right here. I'm just going to use a straight blade screwdriver. Just want to pull that out. Just trying to get this past. You can take it off completely or just get it into the service position. Just grab the hose, take this off, pull that out. When you're taking this off, you may have a little bit of oil in there, so you want to put a drain bucket underneath to catch any of that oil. Now pop this clamp off on the other side. Same thing, the clip. Grab the hose, rock this out. Again, there might be a little bit of oil. Not too bad on this one. Now on the left side, there's 2 transmission cooler lines. We want to pop these off. These clips, you're going to have to twist till you find the open section right there. Then I'm going to use some snap ring pliers just to spread this apart. Can move this up. Do the same on this one. These are just the locks that lock it together. That's out of the way. And make sure you have a drain bucket underneath. Pop that off. And pop that one off. A little bit of transmission fluid comes out. It's fine. Now we're going to take the AC lines off. Use a T45 socket. Take these screws out. We're going to pop these off. I'm just going to pop this back. There's a little bit of a vacuum on it, so if you hear any noise, that's from a vacuum, that's not refrigerant, because we did get it evacuated. Pop that off. Do the same on this one. Set that aside. Then in the front, at the base of the grill, you're going to use a T30 socket, and on each side there is a screw. You want to take those out on both sides. Pull those out. Disconnect the mass airflow sensor. Just push on the tab and disconnect the connector. And using some hose clamp pliers, we're going to move this hose clamp over here. Just leave that out of the way. That's good. Disconnect this hose. Pop that off. Now using a hex socket, we're going to take this bolt out here. This is a 5mm hex. We'll loosen that up. That bolt's going to stay with the airbox. We'll just grab the airbox, pull it up. You can pull it right out of the way. Now grab the intercooler and condenser. Just pull it back. You want to pull it up. Just make sure you get the hoses out of the way. Twist it up on the left side. And pull it out. Now with this flat, we're going to use a T30 socket. Take these screws out. And we're going to do the same on the other side. And we'll just pull the cooler off. Set that aside. Take the condenser off. Now you want to put the clips back on before we put this all together. Just get that lined up. If you took these off, and do the same on this side. Now we'll take these mounts off. We're going to transfer these to the new one. Do the same on the other side. Take the mounting brackets. Slide those on, do the same on the other side. Take the condenser, line this up. And the transmission cooler, get that lined up. And take the screws, get those started. And the other side as well. Now snug those down. You can see at the base of the intercooler there is a tab on both sides. If you look down, you can see the grommet. Those tabs are going to go in those grommets on both sides. Now we're going to slide it in the same way it came out. Just be careful not to hit anything. just have to lean it one side down first, and then the other side. Just go back and forth. Just move some of the piping out of the way. Alright, those grommets are in. Now take the screws from the front, get those started. If you have to, you can push the assembly forward just so the screw bites a little bit, and then snug that down. And do the same on the other side. And take the airbox, get this lined up. Push it down in place, and tighten down the bolt. And snug that down. And move the hose clamp. Slide that in place. That's good. Take the connector. Lock it down. Now take the transmission cooler lines, get those started. Then we're going to move the clips over. And just move the clips down. There we go. That's clipped in. I'll move the other one down. And make sure that's seated properly. That looks good. It's all the way down. You want to just take a little AC oil, put it on the O-ring. If the O-ring looks like it's crushed, you want to replace it. These ones look pretty good. Slide that in place. Same with this one. A little bit of oil on the O-ring. Just get this to line up. And you can put the bolts in. Get those started. And we're going to torque these to 8 foot-pounds. That's good. Now slide the intercooler tube in. Get that lined up. And just push it in. Lock it in place. Now put the other side in. Get that lined up. Lock that in place. There we go. It's locked in. Take the radiator, slide it in place. Get past the intercooler tube on this side. Now get the bolts started. Get the bottom two in. not going to tighten that down yet, just to get it so that it's loose, but it's there. And the other side, get that started. Oops. There we go, that's started. Now up top, get those bolts started. And get this one in. And once you get this one started, you can tighten this down and tighten down the two top ones. All right, snug that down. And the screw that goes in the side of this bracket, get that lined up. And tighten that down. Snug that down. Snug that down. And you can reach down and tighten down the lower ones. Or you can get them from underneath if you want. Snug that down. And the other lower one. Snug that down. That's good. Take the upper coolant hose, get that lined up. Just push it onto the radiator. Locks in place. It'll just click. Now slide the hose, the other hose in. And before we put it on, just take that clip, put that in the locking position. Get that lined up on the radiator. Lock it down. And this retainer right here, lock that to the hose and push that into the bracket. That's good. Now I take the hose, reinstall it right there, and we'll move the clamp. All right. And move the hose clamp. That's good. Take the fan, slide it up. Just move the hoses out of your way. All right, get that in place. And you want to get the bolt started from underneath. Make sure it's lined up. I got it started. Get that lined up. Get that one started. Give it a couple turns. And before we tighten that down, we'll get the top ones in. And get the top bolts in. And we'll snug it down. Do the same on the other side. And put the other one in. And we'll tighten this one down. And snug that down. Now we can tighten the lower ones. Now tighten this down. Snug that down. And snug down the last one. All right, that's tight. Take the connector for the fan, get that lined up. I'll put this shield up. It's lined up. Just put the screws in, snug those down. I'll put these two in, snug these down, and do the same on the other side. This plate is going to go right here, get that lined up. Tap it in place on the sides. And put these screws in, snug these down. Now put this intake tube, or intake box in place. Get that lined up, get the screws started. Snug that down and put the other screw in on the other side. Snug that down. Now take this tube, get that lined up, and lock it in place. And you want to add the proper coolant. Take the cap off the reservoir. Fill it up to where the max line is right here. Then you want to start the vehicle, let it run for about a minute, top off if you need to add any more coolant, then put the cap on. Run the vehicle for about 15 minutes, monitoring it, making sure the engine's not overheating. Have the heat on low and make sure you feel heat coming out. Once the engine's up to operating temperature, shut the vehicle off, let it cool down. Double check the fluid level and adjust accordingly. Now, underneath the vehicle, after you add coolant to the vehicle, you're going to need to check the transmission fluid level. With the engine running, if you have a scan tool that can read the transmission fluid temperature, you want to check to make sure the fluid temperature is between 95 degrees Fahrenheit and 113 degrees. While you're checking this, put the vehicle up, make sure it's level. Using a Hex socket, this is a 5mm Hex socket, you're going to pull this plug out while the engine is running, and then there should be a steady stream of fluid. Now we only lost a little less than half a quart of fluid, so with a fluid transfer pump, push fluid up in there until you get a steady stream coming out, and close this up, and you're good to go. After you're done the repair, bring the vehicle to the local shop where you had the refrigerant removed and have them recharge the system.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.